Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tado Jayamudire. Ashtaprayashu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevayam Bhagavate Uttama Shloke Bhakti Bhakti Naistiki. Om Agnanatimirandasya Gnananjana Shalakaya Chaksharunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nitya Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarini Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Siva Sadi Gaura Bhaktarunda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. And the fourth chapter 2 verse 28. Bhavavratadhara ye cha ye tatan samanuvrataha Pashandinaste bhavantu sachastra paripanthinah. One who takes a vow to satisfy Lord Shiva or who follows such principles will certainly become an atheist and be diverted from transcendental scriptural injunctions. It is sometimes seen that the devotees of Lord Shiva imitate the characteristics of Lord Shiva. For example, Lord Shiva drank an ocean of poison, so some of the followers of Lord Shiva imitate him and try to take intoxicants like ganja, marijuana. Here, the curse is that if someone follows such principles, he must become an infidel and turn against the principles of Vedic regulation. It is said that such devotees of Lord Shiva will be Sat Shastra Paripantinaha, which means opposed to the conclusion of Shastra. This is confirmed in the Padma Purana also. Lord Shiva was ordered by the Supreme Person of Godhead to preach the impersonal or Mayavada philosophy for a particular purpose, just as Lord Buddha preached the philosophy of voidness for particular purposes mentioned in the Shastra. Because of this curse, Prabhupada seems to be indicating here that Shiva came as the Shankaracharya, so that they uh, to become an atheist. Mayavad, Mayavad is garbed atheism. Sometimes it is necessary to preach a philosophical doctrine which is against the Vedic conclusion. In the Shiva Purana, it is stated that Lord Shiva said to Parvati that in the Kali Yuga, in the body of a Brahmana, he would preach the Mayavada philosophy. Thus, it is generally found that the worshippers of Lord Shiva are Mayavadi philosophers. Lord Shiva himself says, Mayavadam Asat Shastram. Asat Shastra, as explained here, means the doctrine of Mayavada impersonalism or becoming one with the Supreme. Bhrigu cursed that persons who worshipped Lord Shiva would become followers of this Mayavada Asat Shastra, which attempts to establish that the Supreme Person of Godhead is impersonal. Besides that, among the worshippers of Lord Shiva, there is a section who live a devilish life. Srimad Bhagavatam and Narada Pancharatra are authorized scriptures that are considered Sat Shastra, or scriptures which lead one to the path of God realization. And the Asat Shastras are just the opposite. The Bhrigu curse, that one who takes the vow to satisfy Krishna, Lord Shiva, basically, which is followers of Lord Shiva, they'll go against scriptural injunctions. It is the Shankaracharya's followed. And of course, there's also another section which live a devilish life. Nashta Shaucha Mudha Dio Jata Bhasmasti Dharinaha Vishantu Shiva Dikshayam Yatra Daivam Surasavam. Those who vow to worship Lord Shiva are so foolish that they imitate him by keeping long hair on their heads. When initiated into worship of Lord Shiva, they prefer to live on wine, flesh, and other such things. Indulging in wine and meat, keeping long hair on one's head, not bathing daily, and smoking ganja are some of the habits which are accepted by foolish creatures who do not have regulated lives. By such behavior, one becomes devoid of transcendental knowledge. In the initiation into the Shiva mantra, there are mudrikashtaka, in which it is sometimes recommended that one make his sitting place on the vagina and thus desire nirvana or dissolution of existence. In that process of worship, wine is needed, or sometimes in place of wine, palm tree juice, which is converted into an into an intoxicant. This is also offered according to Shiva Agama or scripture on the method of worshipping Lord Shiva. So there are various things that are all there in different shastras, but some are Sat Shastra, some are Asat Shastra. So, which is why in this material world, like Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, whatever faith one wants to follow, Krishna only gives them the determination to stick to that faith. So all kinds of stuff are there. Mm, So it just depends on whether is it taking us closer to Krishna or away from Krishna. So which is why I keep remembering all the time that we are so fortunate that we somehow or the other, like Prabhupada says, somehow or the other, we came in touch with Srila Prabhupada and Srimad Bhagavatam and the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Otherwise, yeah, one can get lost in um, so many different so-called processes wherever they are taking. But everybody believes whoever is following these process, they believe that it is the ultimate. So it's very, very bewildering. Just imagine, I mean, just reading this description, weird. What kind of process? So, but yeah, everything is there, all kinds of stuff, and this is part of the curse also. Brahmacha brahmanamstaiva yadyuyam parinindata hetum vidharanam pumsam atapashandam ashritaha. Ragumuni continued, since you blaspheme the Vedas and the Brahmanas who are followers of the Vedic principles, it is understood that you've already taken shelter of the doctrine of atheism. Mm. Pashandam ashritaha, because you're already, this was the curse Bhrigu gave, that followers of Lord Shiva will become atheists. So Bhrigu is telling Nandishwara, saying that since you already blasphemed, so you're already taken shelter of the doctrine of atheism, which means my curse is already effective. Bhrigu in cursing Nandishwara said that not only would they be degraded as atheists because of this curse, but they had already fallen to the standard of atheism because they had blasphemed the Vedas, which are the source of human civilization. Human civilization is based on the qualitative divisions of social order, namely Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. The Vedas provide the right direction for advancing in spiritual cultivation and economic development, and regulating the principle of sense gratification, Dharma, Artha, Kama, so that ultimately one may be liberated, moksha, mm, from material contamination to his real state of spiritual identification, Aham Brahmasmi. As long as one is in the contamination of material existence, one changes bodies from the aquatics up to the position of Brahma. But the human form of life is the highest perfection of life in the material world. The Vedas give directions by which to elevate oneself in the next life. The Vedas are the mother for such instructions, and the Brahmanas or persons who are in knowledge of the Vedas are the father. Thus, if one blasphemes the Vedas and Brahmanas, naturally one goes down to the status of atheism. The exact word used in Sanskrit is Nastika, which refers to one who does not believe in the Vedas but manufactures some concocted system of religion. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has said that the followers of Buddhist system of religion are Nastikas. In order to establish his doctrine of non-violence, Lord Buddha flatly refused to believe in the Veda, and thus later on, Shankaracharya stopped this system of religion in India and forced it to go outside India. Here is stated Brahmacha Brahmanan. Brahma means the Vedas. Aham Brahmasmi means I am in full knowledge. The Vedic assertion is that one should think that he is Brahman, but actually he is Brahman. Brahma or the Vedic spiritual science is condemned, and the masters of the spiritual science, the Brahmanas, are condemned. Then where does human civilization stand? Rukmini said, it is not due to my cursing that you shall become atheist. You are already situated in the principle of atheism, therefore you are condemned. Okay. So basically, Buddhism, mm, complete openly Gnostic. Shankaracharya came and pushed it outside India, and then he introduced his own, which is garbed atheism, mm, becoming one with Brahman, mm, then saying I am Brahman, Aham Brahmasmi, and not just saying I am Brahman, but thinking I am Parabrahmasmi, I am Parabrahma, I am He, I am the Supreme Lord. This is craziness. So yeah, all kinds of yeah. So this episode is very very important because the downfall of the Brahmanas and then downfall of followers of Shiva, everything is happening mm, because of this cursing and counter cursing. And we can also understand how powerful these entities were, like Nandishvara, Bhrigu. Their curses are so powerful that they're still active in Kali Yuga. Of course, they would have become instruments, the will of Krishna, that Kali Yuga be like this. But still, um, it's not easy to make a curse which is so effective that it's been in vogue for so many years. Qualified people. एष एव हि लोकानां शिवपन्था सनातनः यं पूर्वे चानुसन्तस्थुर् यत्प्रमाणं जनार्दनः. The Vedas give the eternal regulative principles for auspicious advancement in human civilization, which have been rigidly followed in the past. The strong evidence of this principle is the Supreme Person of Godhead, who is called Janardana, the well-wisher of all living entities. So the Vedas talk about the Supreme Lord. So this verse is saying that it is all meant for an advancement of human civilization. In Bhagavad Gita, the Supreme Person of Godhead, Krishna, has claimed that he is the father of all living entities, regardless of form. There are 84 lakh different species of life forms, and Lord Krishna claims that he is the father of all. Because the living entities are parts and parcels of the Supreme Person of Godhead, they are all sons of the Lord, and for their benefit, because they are hovering under the impression that they can lord it over material nature, the Vedas are given to them for their guidance. So Vedas basically gives Varnashrama Dharma. By following Varnashrama Dharma, previously people used to follow, they used to ultimately come to the Supreme Lord. Mm, because it is Varnashrama is for advancement of human civilization, auspicious advancement, not this kind of demoniac advancement, which is material. Mm, uh, this Kali Yuga advancement is Mayadanava advancement. Mayadanava is the technologist among the asuras, mm, among the demons. Mm. So this kind of advancement is Mayadanava's advancement, Kali Yuga's advancement. But actually, what is required is auspicious advancement, which is the Vedic way of life. But today, Vedas are, in fact, I mean, Kali Yuga at this point of time, pretty much, mostly the civilization has rejected Vedas, especially the current generation, mm, right? Because they don't follow anything. They neither do they do any kind of worship at home or go to temple or they're just completely like Western civilization, completely atheistic. Just money, enjoyment. That's all. So obviously that kind of a society will suffer mm, because then it will result in inauspicious advancement, which is what is happening. If we want auspicious advancement, then we have to get people to accept Vedic way of life. Um, and that is why Srila Prabhupada if you read Prabhupada Lilamrita, so in the very last stage of his manifest presence in this material world, he said his uh, mission is incomplete. It's just 50% because he wants to establish Varnashrama communities. Because he said that's the only way people can actually even come to Krishna. Because they're so far away from Krishna. Even if you give them Krishna, they will not take it because they're all still worried about livelihood. So give them Vedic way of livelihood. If you give them Vedic way of livelihood and they can take that up, then slowly they will make progress and come. Because how many people will accept Krishna consciousness? Mm. It's only directly coming to Krishna consciousness is only for those jivas who have made advancement, who have sufficient agnata sukruti for them to come in touch. Because we see so many times we go out to preach, people come and they go away in spite of our efforts, and then we realize, yeah, they are not ready for it. They're not fortunate enough. But we can't just let such people go off, right? So that is Varnashrama. Mm. So Varnashrama will slowly create environment where all kinds of people can come to Krishna eventually. So it's very important, but somehow or the other in ISKCON, it's not been given required importance. Mm. See, because we also see actually so many people come into Krishna consciousness, but they don't follow any rules. What is the use of coming into Krishna consciousness like that? Basically, which is as good as not doing anything. Many devotees don't even chant 16 rounds every day. Mm. Mm. I heard that some people who are part of Gaudiya Mutt, they don't have any rules at all. They don't even have to chant 16 rounds. They can eat whatever they want. But like this is not what Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur gave. Of course, I'm sure it's something like these kind of things are there even in ISKCON. Mm, mm, so if uh, if we just think that everybody is going to directly come to bhakti and stick to it, that's also an illusion. Mm. You need a social framework. I keep thinking, say, so many devotees are working outside, and from my own life's experience, I can see that the outside engagement is so contaminating. Um, so if you at least have a society, civilization which is Vedic, at least some part of it which is Vedic, and if we can be part of that kind of environment, uh, then even for devotees, practicing devotees, they can live a more peaceful Krishna conscious life. So in more ways than one, this whole Vedic way of life or Varnashrama is very, very critical, even for devotees and for the future. Mm. A social system, Prabhupada said, social system that can last beyond the effect of bhakti. 10,000 years bhakti, this is golden age. After that, uh, we need something which will still at least create some kind of a platform for people to come to Krishna consciousness. So this is the auspicious advancement. But unfortunately, whole rest of society definitely doesn't is not giving any importance to this Varna Ashrama. Um, even within devotees who actually should understand the importance of Varna Ashrama, the required importance is not being given. And I know devotees who are living in Varna Ashramas, farm communities, and they're so happy. Their their livelihood is taken care, children are taken care, bhakti is taken care, everything is taken care by just being in a community. So it makes a big difference. Therefore, the Vedas are called Apaurushaya, for they are not written by any man or demigod, including the first living creature, Brahma. Brahma is not the creator or author of the Vedas. He is also one of the living entities in this world. Therefore, he does not have the power to write or speak the Vedas independently. Every living entity within this material world is subject to four deficiencies, commits mistakes, accepts one thing to be another, cheats, and has imperfect senses. The Vedas, however, are not written by any living creature within this material world. Therefore, they are said to be Apaurushaya. No one can trace out the history of the Vedas. Of course, modern human civilization has no chronological history of the world or the universe, and it cannot present actual historical facts older than 3000 years. But no one has traced out when the Vedas were written because they were never written by any living being within this material world. All other systems of knowledge are defective because they have been written or spoken by men or demigods who are products of this material creation. But Bhagavad Gita is Apaurushaya, for it was not spoken by any human being or any demigod of this material creation. It was spoken by Lord Krishna, who is beyond the material creation. That is accepted by such stalwart scholars as Shankaracharya, not to speak of other acharyas such as Ramanujacharya and Madhvacharya. Shankaracharya has accepted that Narayana and Krishna are transcendental, and in Bhagavad Gita also Lord Krishna has established Ham Sarvasya Prabhavo Mattas Sarvam Pravartate. I am the origin of everything. Everything emanates from me. This material creation, including Brahma and Shiva and all the demigods, has been created by him, but everything is emanated from him. He also says that the purpose of all the Vedas is to understand him. Vedeshta Sarverahameva Vedyaha. Mm. Krishna is saying everything is created by me, everything emanated from me. Purpose of Vedas is to understand me. And people who are falsely egoistic, they hear these statements of Krishna in Bhagavad Gita and say, oh, Krishna is so egoistic. He's just talking about himself. Who else can be talked about? There's nobody else worth talking about. But those people who say like that, they believe that no, no, no. If I do this, it's wrong. So Krishna also should not do. Uh, it is. He is the original Vedavit or knower of the Vedas and Vedanta Krit or compiler of Vedanta. Brahma is not the compiler of the Vedas. In the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, it is established, Tene Brahmarada, the supreme absolute truth, personality of Godhead, instructed Brahma in the Vedic knowledge through his heart. Dadami Buddhi Yogam Tam. Therefore, the evidence that Vedic knowledge is free from the defects of mistakes, illusions, cheating, and imperfection is that it is spoken by the Supreme Person of Godhead, Janardana, and has thus been followed from time immemorial, beginning from Brahma. Mm. The Vedic religion or the principles of Vedas have been followed by the highly cultured population of India since time immemorial. See, it's been followed by the highly cultured, but now the so-called cultured population doesn't want to accept the principles of Veda. No one can trace out the history of Vedic religion. Therefore, it is Sanatana, and any blasphemy against the Vedas is calculated to be atheism. The Vedas are described as Setu, which means a bridge. If one wants to attain his spiritual existence, one has to cross an ocean of nescience. The Vedas are the bridge by which to cross such a great ocean. See, why would Prabhupada choose to write things like this? He could have just everywhere just said, chant Hare Krishna, chant Hare Krishna, chant Hare Krishna. Why is he saying Vedas are the Setu? He could have just said Hare Krishna is the Setu. Right? Because it's still required. These things are still required. It's a society. We're living in a society. Society requires a framework. And that framework is given in Vedas, which is Varnashrama. So this is the bridge. This is the bridge. Actually, we can't imagine the power of a Varnashrama society. That's why we don't give it much importance. Uh, my Guru Maharaj in one lecture said that it is like a net. If there's a trapeze artist in a circus, and he's walking, he's doing tightrope walking, and then there's a net below, because if he falls, then that net is going to protect him. So Varnashrama society is like that. It protects a person from falling down. Oh. But when such a society civilization is not available, even it is so challenging for devotees to try and remain devotees. Uh, but if there is a Varnashrama society around, then there is a higher chance that lesser people will fall down or will go away from bhakti. I mean, classic problem that possibly most parents face is children not able to understand or accept Krishna consciousness. Again, because of the society. The rest of the society is atheistic, rest of the society is not Krishna conscious. And then only few people are Krishna conscious. Their way of life is different. Oh, you don't want to eat outside. Now, all this is because the rest of the society is non-Vedic, is not following Vedic principles. If rest of the society was following Vedic principles, where would be onion garlic food? It won't be there. That will be only for the low class people. But even today, so-called high class people are eating these kinds of food. So we have to understand actually it's very important that these Vedic principles come into vogue. Even if somebody doesn't follow bhakti, at least there should be some impetus, some reason for people to follow Vedic way of life. Then automatically bhakti becomes like a very easy next step. Mm. Very important that these things are understood, and why Prabhupada is highlighting these things. That also we should understand. The Vedas described how to divide. See again, the human race into four divisions according to quality and working capacity. This is a very scientific system and it is also Sanatana. For no one can trace out its history and it has no dissolution. No one can stop the system of Varna and Ashrama. For example, whether or not one accepts the name Brahmana, there is a class in society which is known as the intelligent class and which is interested in spiritual understanding and philosophy. So, whether we accept it or not, there is a class, Prabhupada is saying. Similarly, there is a class of men who are interested in administration and in ruling others. In the Vedic system, these martially spirited men are called Kshatriyas. Similarly, everywhere there is a class of men who are interested in economic development, business, industry, money making. They are called Vaishyas. And there's another class who are neither intelligent nor martially spirited nor endowed with capacity for economic development, but who simply can serve others. They're called Shudras, the laborer class. This system is Sanatana. It comes from time immemorial. And it will continue in the same way. Just that because now these different types of people, they are not guided. Their actions are not guided as per Vedas. So Kalau Shudra Sambhavaha. Everybody is becoming a Shudra, third class men. There's no power in the world which can stop Varnashrama. Therefore, since this Sanatana Dharma system is eternal, one can elevate himself to the highest end of spiritual life by following Vedic principles. Again, Prabhupada is highlighting Vedic principles, not just principles of bhakti. So we have to understand that there's a reason why so much emphasis is being given. It is stated that formerly the sages followed this system. Therefore, to follow the Vedic system is to follow the standard etiquette of society. See, this is the standard etiquette of society. What is being followed today is a standard etiquette of a demoniac society, Asuric society, not a Vedic society. But the followers of Lord Shiva who are drunkards, who are addicted to intoxicants and sex life, who do not bathe and who smoke ganja, are against all human etiquette. So this is what most people do today. They drink, they smoke, they eat meat, engage in sexual life. Yeah, and there are some who don't even bathe daily. It's all against human etiquette. This is not humans. This is subhuman, demoniac. The conclusion is that persons who rebel against the Vedic principles are themselves the evidence that the Vedas are authoritative. Because by not following the Vedic principles, they become like animals. Such animalistic persons are themselves the evidence of the supremacy of the Vedic regulations. So Prabhupada is giving a counter logic. Because they become like animals, it shows how powerful Vedic principles are. Because they're not following it. Because they're not following it and they become animals, so it shows the supremacy of the Vedic principles. And today also actually it's very, very difficult, even for practicing devotees, if we talk about some basic Vedic principles. Like for example, I still see so many people, they go to the washroom even to pass water and they don't wash their legs. These are all low class. You don't go into the bathroom and not wash your legs and come out. You don't go for passing stool and not take bath and come out. These are like basic, otherwise it's animalistic society. But generally we generally in ISKCON we give lot of emphasis to Shravanam, Kirtanam. Mm. But these basic qualities are not there. I see, wherever we go, wherever suppose, in our center or in the temple, we are making people sit down and, we are serving prasadam. And then after eating prasadam, people will get up and they have no consciousness at all. They just walk over the prasadam, juta, all over, and then they walk everywhere. They don't bother to even see that there is, first of all, it's prasadam. Second, it's somebody's juta, right? So everything makes it so important that we just don't stamp on that. This is just simple, very basic, principles that used to be taught previously for all classes of men, whether it be Shudras. Even Shudras used to know because they used to work for high class people. Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, high class people. They used to follow Vedic principles. Nowadays, so on one end, we have devotees who are chanting Hare Krishna. On the other end, they have no idea about basic principles, basic cleanliness principles, basic social etiquette. These things don't exist. So it's very important actually. We should not just neglect Vedic way of life. We are not trying to, Prabhupada did not try to force fit, Krishna consciousness into the Western way of life. He said, I have come here to teach the Vedic way of life. I'm not here. So many people advised Prabhupada saying that, you do a little adjustment, you will have a lot more followers. Just you can wear Western clothes, eat little bit meat because, Western country is very difficult to survive without eating meat. So many things people said, told Prabhupada. Prabhupada said, I'm not here to take anything from them. I'm here to give them. Mm. So we have to live in such a way that we can give others, provided we first know and we follow. So many things actually, the cultural aspect of life. Um, uh, discussing with one more devotee, saying that if we touch about cultural aspects of life, even with practicing devotees, it's very touchy. People get very affected, saying, "Oh, what is this?" Uh, you know, Equal rights for women is one very, very, you know, important topic for most people. The way people dress is another very important topic. And if it touch these things, it is very sensitive. People feel offended. When we touch these things and talk what the Vedic way of life is, people are not ready to accept. Right? So even amongst devotees, there is it's like a indirectly. I mean, it's a dislike towards Vedic principles. What is it? It's just rejecting Vedic principles. It's atheistic in one way. So on one end, we have accepted the supreme ruling of the Veda, which is to chant Hare Krishna. On the other end, we have given up all other rulings which are there, principles that are there. So we should not become so modernized, westernized by our way of thinking, life, culture. We should try to adopt as much as possible Vedic way of life. Mm. Say one simple thing, right? Like today, how people dress, pant shirt, chudidar, right? This is not Vedic way of life. Absolutely not Vedic way of life. But we find it so difficult to change, right? Uh, Still, at least some women still have the habit of wearing saris, but that's also very, very. It's almost considered like there has to be an occasion to wear sari. At least I'm happy that most of the devotees who come to our satsang, at least on satsang days, they are in Vaishnava clothes. I see so many places where people even they come for satsang, etc. They are leaders in ISKCON, but they're still in karmi clothes. So these things people will see and copy. Will say, okay, I can also be like this. I can be however I want. And then why is all this required at all? Why did Prabhupada go to the West and teach people how to wear dhoti and sari? He could have just told it's okay, you can wear pant and shirt, you can. I mean, yeah, they were not even wearing pant, literally not even wearing clothes, right? But he taught them. He taught them. So we have to learn all this. So we can't force anybody to do anything, but we have to understand that these things are important. Mm, The culture, the way of dressing, the food that we eat, everything is part of the Vedic culture. Uh, Prabhupada, he was in the West. He never, his food was always classic Indian food, right? Chapati, dal, rice, uh, and sabji, Indian sweets. Once I was reading, some devotees had made him some Western cake or something. Some, mm, Prabhupada didn't like it much. Prabhupada said, yeah, this is sweet, but mm, really sweet means like sandesh, rasgulla, like that. Yes. So even many times my Guru Maharaj say, "Does Krishna eat pizza? Does Krishna eat pasta?" But we want to do all this. We want to do all this because for us, Krishna consciousness means fun. Krishna consciousness means fun, but not our fun. Krishna consciousness means Krishna's fun. Anyway, like I said, it's a very touchy topic, so I'll stop here. But we should understand that it's not for why would Prabhupada write such a long purport, emphasizing so much on Vedic principles for a reason. That's all. That's the point I'm trying to drive. Saying that these things are written and they're for a reason. We cannot just ignore them. Okay, so I'll stop here. If anybody has any comments, question, or a controversial topic, we can discuss. Nothing. Okay, there's nothing, then we can close. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Vasa Kalpatarvesh Chakrapa Santa Chapatidana Bhavana Vaishnava Koti Vaishnava Jai. Hare Krishna.
Shri Krishna, Dandavat Pranam.